A state of emergency remains in place for Auckland as the city faces a massive clean-up job and many families, as we know, left with nothing. Auckland Mayor Wayne Brown is on the line live with us this morning. And Mayor Brown, we appreciate your time. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. If we can just start with some of the latest information and numbers from you, what are the weather warnings currently in place this morning for the city?
Well, I think they're not quite so severe, and in fact it's clear at the moment. So the weather warnings, it's more about the impact of what the weather had before. Warnings don't go into places that are flooded and keep away from slips and wet places. But I don't think the weather is going to be too severe today. In fact, at the moment it's clear and not bad.
Okay, so you don't believe there's any weather warnings in place. Are there any road closures Aucklanders need to be aware of this morning?
Auckland Transport will be giving out a full list of what they've got as soon as we've done our formal briefing this morning. Most of them are in the rural areas. The surface flooding seems to have been dealt with, and out west in our rural areas where there are less people but poorer roads, there's an awful lot of cleanups. There's a full update coming later this morning where the council emergency website will be full.
Okay. What time do you get that briefing, Mayor Brown?
Well, I'll get continuous briefings, but we sit around the table at 9:30 and go through every possible thing, and because things pop up that people haven't noticed. It was just yesterday that really it came to our attention that there's a number of people in multi-storey apartment buildings who are kind of semi-isolated because although there's no damage to the building, there are over 200 lifts not working in Auckland City. And some are elderly people who are up quite a few stories. And that had been missed by the welfare and the emergency people. So when you talk these things through, it's amazing what pops up. And then out of the blue, we hear about a fetu in a remote area yesterday which had a tragic collapse. And suddenly, so I'm heading out there today, an area that I don't usually go to. But
so are you saying that there are potentially elderly people who have been trapped at the top of apartment buildings since Friday, since the floods first hit?
There are. That's a fact. I know about it, but the central emergency managers hadn't kind of thought along those things.
Why are we just hearing about this now?
Oh, well, I haven't just heard about it now, but it was only yesterday that we put some actions into the emergency management people. One of the things I've commissioned a review for is to learn and examine everything. Now, and that includes my role in it too. What have my office done or not done?
So when did you know about it? When did you know about these people potentially isolated at the top of apartment buildings? When did you first know about that?
Well, I've known about it for a while, and I assumed that they were that it was into the system. So it's been in the system. But
how come? Did you know about it before yesterday?
Oh yes,
How come emergency management were only told about it yesterday and only started doing something about it yesterday?
No, I think I don't think they realised it was quite as big a problem until I drew it to their attention. Yet what I did was I discovered that in fact there's over 200 lifts out. And
how long did it take you to draw it to their attention?
I think that there's been a number of things we've had to bring. Yesterday I brought it to their attention, but it's in their focus now.
Okay, so you brought it to their attention yesterday, but you said you knew well in advance of yesterday.
Well, no, I didn't know about. I knew one day before in one building, but I didn't realise until I looked into it how widespread it was.
Okay, but if you knew a day before that there were potentially elderly people stuck at the top of apartment blocks...
Well, they're not stuck there. I mean, at the moment...
But they can't get down in a lift. What if there's an emergency? Emergency services can't get up to them in any hurry.
Yes, well, you're right. But right at the moment, there are people who really are in trouble, and that's where the focus is. People whose houses have been... you've got to be careful you don't wander up little blind alleys with new things. Those people are housed, and the things, and they are fed, and they're not calling out an emergency situation. The emergency situation is those who have had their houses washed through, and we're absolutely concentrating on those. As far as the lift thing, that's been dealt with. It's something that's been and gone and sorted.
But is it sorted though? Are all lifts, are they all working now?
No, the lift companies have put in place emergency groups, and they're working their way through. But it doesn't represent a life and a serious situation, as does all those people who are living under cliffs that have had collapses, near slips, or have been flooded.
Well, Mayor Brown, I have to agree that those people are in a very serious situation, but I would also say that families of people who are stuck at the top of apartment blocks who cannot get down
the community, they're just another community. They're being looked after by their communities. No one's being...
But they're not, because you haven't told emergency management about them until yesterday.
No, hang on, the emergency management people are focusing where they need to focus. I only learned about this myself a day before, and we have discovered that just like the people in the flooded areas, the people in the vertical communities are looking after each other, just like the people out in the regions. Yesterday I joined the Samoan charity, ASA Foundation, and delivering goods, food and cleaning materials to people out in the community. And communities are working everywhere.
Okay. Mayor Brown, I hope that we do hear more from you on this and more updates, but there are other things I want to ask you about, because this is all very useful information for residents. We have been asking you to come on and tell us this kind of information since the weekend. Why, and we appreciate your time today, why have you agreed this Thursday morning to speak with us?
Well, it's the first time there's been enough of a break in the weather to have the time to do this. I mean, I've been kind of buried in the need to improve the communications from not just ourselves, but from the Auckland Emergency Management Group. I've been responding to helpful suggestions from the government. We've instituted the Auckland Emergency Management twice daily briefings to get things better. It's been a huge improvement. I've got the Prime Minister to send up senior communication support from the National Emergency Management Agency, and our councillors have been busy with local boards and local leaders, and I've been out and about inspecting things. I've spent a lot of time from early in the day to late in the evening with the building inspector teams, who are doing a great job. There's been, plus we've been sent a number of building inspectors from other regions as well. Yeah. There's been an awful lot of emergency coordination to be doing, and there just hasn't been time to deal with some of these issues. I know that it's important that I have a good relationship with the working relationship with the media, but my time has been just grabbed with emergency situations and with
on that relationship, Mayor Brown, is there anything you have said this week that you regret?
I'm never going to be a smooth-talking politician, and I do need to improve my communications.
Okay, so what do you regret? What have you said this week that you regret?
There's bound to be the odd word here and there, but most of what I've been concentrating is getting good messages out and making sure that the teams are functioning well, and getting the support in for Auckland that it needs. Plus, we've got to start preparing for what's coming next. I mean, there is a big clean-up starting right now. The skips are out, organising the skips, getting the army to help.
There are lots of people, across the city.
Ensuring that we had 70 staff out there from health.
But Mayor Brown, I just want to take you back, because as Mayor of Auckland, delivering an emergency message this week, you've said that there are things that you have said this week that you regret, and much of that has been put on public record. So this is your chance now to tell the public what things you regret, what you would not have said.
Well, I probably shouldn't have said the word drongo to a couple of friends of mine, but I was just explaining how I couldn't show up for tennis that particular day. I regret it was made public. It was probably inappropriate. But I do recognise the important role that media has in an emergency, and that's what I've been concentrating on.
You mentioned the councillors too before, that they have been extremely busy across the city, and they have. There is a leaked memo from one of the councillors that went out. Are you banning them from spreading vital safety information?
No, that's absolute nonsense. I've encouraged local members to be local within their community as much as they want and about their local issues, and feed those back into us. But what I'm trying to get is a need for a region-wide overall communications coordinated system, which was managed out of the Mayor's office.
Mayor, when were you advised that there was going to be a Minister for Auckland created?
Same as everybody else. But Michael Wood has been working with me essentially in that role anyhow, because he agreed to join me on creating a proper joined-up transport plan for Auckland, which amazingly didn't exist. Yeah. And so we've been working together for that for some time.
Well, because the Prime Minister has said that Michael Wood's role is going to be to advocate for Auckland's issues on a range of issues. Isn't that your job?
Well, it's interesting. One of the things I campaigned on was that it's about time that we got a lot more of our decisions made up here. And I work closely with Michael Wood, and I brought it to his attention that despite being Minister of Transport, there wasn't actually a joined-up transport plan for Auckland.
Do you feel that you should have been given a heads up that he'd take on that role, though, rather than learning it along with everybody else?
Well, no, the Prime Minister's role is to make announcements to his own people, and way before. We have had previous ministers for Auckland. It's not a new thing. Helen Clark had a minister for Auckland. I think and it's election year, so Auckland's in the eye again, which is a good thing at the moment. I plan to get the very maximum things out of this for Auckland. It's a good thing.
Mayor Brown, it's Ryan Bridge here. I just wanted to ask you one question, just to clarify something you said earlier. Is there, or how many people, if any, elderly people are living in high-rise apartments in Auckland right now with broken lifts who emergency services may not be able to access in a hurry if they were to have, say, a cardiac arrest or a medical emergency? How many people are in that position right now in Auckland?
Well, I'm not sure, really. I've just brought that to the attention of the thing, and there'll be in the update from the Auckland Emergency Management, having brought to their attention, that's the sort of stuff that they should know.
Yeah, but Mayor Brown, when you found out about this a couple of days ago, as you said, have you ever asked the numbers?
Yes, I have, and we have actually ourselves found out how many. Yesterday we did some research on the number of lifts that are out. It's not actually an emergency issue. It's just an issue of more of a social welfare issue.
Which is an emergency issue, is it not?
Those buildings and that's a lot of people live that way now. It's just sometimes that things that are right in front of sometimes organisations don't see them. And one of the things we'll be reviewing about, and I expect to have this review is going to be very, very important and might even be uncomfortable for some people. Where the emergency management teams aware of some of these things, it'll go right back, not just to consider what happened on the last Friday, which undoubtedly not only my communications but everyone's communications could have been improved on that. But we go back to right foot. What preparations did we have? We had an emergency situation that developed where we found that the emergency centres that had been chosen by those who'd had years for free all flooded.
We did hear about this, yes. Auckland Mayor Wayne Brown, I don't want to, I'm loath to stop you because we don't often get to talk to you, but we do really appreciate your time. Thanks very much for coming on the program and updating us this morning.